Hey, fourth grade, today we are going to be wrapping up our metric unit review by looking at length. And I saved this day for last because, as you can probably see, it's going to be a hefty one. We have the most amount of units that we compare when we're measuring length in the metric system. Our smallest unit is a millimeter that we mark with two lowercase m's, and I want you to imagine the tip of a pencil being your millimeter. Your centimeter is your next highest unit, still pretty small, about the width of your finger. We mark that with a cm. Remember from 2 lessons ago, milli was a prefix that we used to help us remember 1,000. Centi was a prefix that we used to help us remember 100, like in the word century, or 100 cents in a dollar. Next, we have a meter. A meter we mark with a lowercase m, and it's about 3 feet long, and imagine a baseball bat. And finally, we have a kilometer. A kilometer is 1,000 meters. Imagine 10 football fields spread out. And here are conversions. It takes 1,000 millimeters to make a meter. It takes 100 centimeters to make 1 meter. If you imagine going from millimeters to centimeters, that means because this is one place value more, it takes 10 millimeters to make 1 single centimeter. And finally, it takes 1,000 meters to make a kilometer. I know that that's really confusing, so I've given you some extra hints today on your work to help you do your conversions today. Your first slide is just going to be a run-of-the-mill conversion chart. Nothing crazy. It's just going to help you fill in the blanks and really practice moving between these two units. The first conversion chart is between millimeters to centimeters. If I go back, it says that I have 10 millimeters for every 1 centimeter. If I look at my place values, what I notice is that this digit in my tens place matches this digit of how many centimeters I have. So if I want to move from centimeters to millimeters, I just tack on 1 extra 0. If I want to move from millimeters to centimeters, I take away that 0. So if I want to do another conversion of centimeters to millimeters, I'm going to start with my amount of centimeters and tack on 1 extra 0. Can you do the reverse now? Move from millimeters to centimeters? What's going to happen to that 0 when you move over? We're also going to compare our meters to our centimeters. Our centimeters are our smallest unit, our smaller unit of these two, so that means we need more of them. If I look back, it says that I have 100 centimeters for every 1 meter. 100 centimeters for every 1 meter. So that means our hundreds digit is what I'm going to look closely at. And I notice when I move from meters to centimeters, I tack on 2 extra zeros for the hundredths place. So if I had 15 meters, I'm going to write the number 15 and tack on 2 extra zeros to say that I have 15 hundredths. 1, 2, 3, whee! What are you going to do to move from centimeters down to meters? We'll need less of them since they're larger. On your next slide, you're going to be doing some conversions. And I gave you a table to help you understand how you can use zeros to help you move from one unit to the next. Like, for example, I'm going from centimeters to millimeters and millimeters to centimeters. If I want to move from centimeters to millimeters, I'm going to look at this hint right here. Centimeters, and then the arrow points to millimeters. Tack on a 0. That's right, I'm going to move up in the place value because millimeters are smaller. That's 10. I'm going to tack on a 0 because that's what the advice tells me to do. Look at how your units move from one to the next and use where the arrow is pointing as a clue. This says millimeters to centimeters. This says millimeters to centimeters, but this arrow is pointing the other way. This is centimeters to meters. Pay close attention to where that arrow is pointing to help you do your conversions. This last slide probably looks pretty familiar to you. You're going to order your units from least to greatest. And remember, what's super helpful is to find that unit, that common unit, and make them all the same. Your smallest unit is millimeters, so it would be helpful for you to turn these all into millimeters. All right, fourth grade, add a response. It's your turn.